This is Levi with photofocus.com, and I am here today with Rob Sylvan, my regular co-host, and also Sharad Mangalick from Adobe.
Hey guys.
Lightroom
Hey Sharad, thanks for
Manager.
coming.
And today we are going to be discussing some fun things in Lightroom. This is our monthly Lightroom podcast or hangout. We are today talking about the new Lightroom 5.7 as well as Lightroom Mobile and how these things can help your workflow flow better.
flow. Well, we got really lucky with timing, and that Lightroom 5.7 just got released last night, midnight my time. So it just so happened that it fit really well with our program, which was totally coincidental. So that's
yeah, it's perfect.
I think you guys are totally selling yourself short. I mean, we planned from the very beginning.
So we got to get this done.
When am I going to be on the hangout? And like, we got to time it right then.
Yeah.
My goal was that like I would actually have a big red button and I would hit it right now and it would go live. But that would be cool. That would take a little too much coordination.
We can see a little progress meter just churning. Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, we'd like to thank our partners for this podcast. Songfreedom.com provides music for licensing that we can use to make excellent slideshows, films, and any other presentations that we want to do with our imagery. Also, Drobo is a partner of PhotoFocus right now. They provide backup for our most essential things, being our pictures.
They've really
our business. Yeah,
they've really taken it up a notch with their equipment. I still have an old unit that probably I should update now with everything that's been newly done there.
Well, and I just got a new one, and I plugged it in last night, and it is humming along swimmingly right now, so I'm excited about that. We've also got Adobe as a partner with this podcast.
That's great.
And we're really glad for that, because if you are watching live right now, you are eligible to win a subscription to the Creative Cloud Photographer's Bundle, which includes both Photoshop and Lightroom Mobile, and does that share?
Behance.
Do you need? Behance. Do you need the CC to get Photoshop Mobile?
So it doesn't include Behance, but you.
Oh, it doesn't include Behance. Okay.
It does not include Behance. You actually don't need the Creative Cloud photography plan to get Photoshop Mix, which is what I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
It definitely does work better with the plan versus without it. So there is kind of like a free version. So.
Excellent. And finally, onOne Software is also a partner on PhotoFocus. They create some terrific. It's onOne Inc. It's not just software anymore.
They dropped the software.
They dropped the software. It's onOne Inc. And they create wonderful tools for helping us finish our pictures, both in and out of Lightroom and Photoshop.
Hey, are we giving away something from them too?
We are. We've got 2 licenses for their latest photo suite, Perfect Photo Suite, and it is perfect. It is really powerful.
Number 9. Right?
That's right, number 9. So tune in today with a question, and that will enter you in the contest, which means I've got to start writing down everybody's.
Yeah. So where can people leave
names.
questions?
Yeah, click on the Q&A on the Google Plus page. That will get you into the. That will enter you into the.
Yeah, and it could be it could be a question since we have Sharad here. If it's not pertaining to Lightroom Mobile, I'm sure he's used to handling Lightroom questions. I've certainly had a few Lightroom questions come my way, so we welcome any Lightroom questions, particularly Lightroom Mobile questions. And you can leave a comment on the event page too. If you can't figure out the Q&A, it's on the side when you're looking at the Hangout there. It's one of those little pods that pop up. So to kind of get started here, let's talk about what's new in Lightroom 5.7, since that's pretty hot off the presses. Can you give us? I know that we have a post on photofocus.com if you want to read all the nitty-gritty details for every lens and camera and whatnot. But maybe Sharad, you could tell us kind of the high level what's new.
Yeah. So as Rob mentioned, we do quarterly posts, and so as part of that, we've got a whole slew of cameras and lenses. I'll have to check through my notes, but I think this is actually the largest collection of lenses that we've ever added in a dot release. So There's like 65, I think, if I count them up. So a huge selection of lenses, which is great. The big news, though, we've got 2 new features in Lightroom. So the first is, there's this other product, from another company, and a lot of their customers are kind of looking for a new home. And so what we've done is, we had a beta version of this available as a plugin, but now we've actually integrated it into Lightroom. And what it is it's a little utility that allows you to import and migrate your Aperture and iPhoto libraries directly into Lightroom.
That's awesome. That is
so where if you were open up Lightroom, where would you access this from? Where would you find that ability to?
Yeah, so it's in Lightroom. It's under the File Plugin Extras.
Why don't you share your screen, Sharad, and show us what's up there?
I just checked, and for some reason it is not in mine. I think it's because I've just been using beta software for so long. I can show you that it is absolutely in Lightroom 5.7. It's just not in my version.
I can throw it up on my screen if you want to see.
And this is great because so many people that I interact with, they've, they're either new at photography or they're new at making a more concerted effort at keeping things organized and finishing their pictures with more power, going more toward a professional route. And so they're coming from iPhoto and into Lightroom. And so it's not only Aperture users who are going to take advantage of this, it's also everybody who's been using iPhoto, and that's awesome.
I know. Can you see my screen right now? I don't know if that's...
Yes. Yeah, you're broadcasting.
So there's
hold on, guys. There's a
sure.
There's a question, or I guess a comment, saying that we're echoing 3x in the chat pod. I don't know if that's something that we can fix because people can't understand what we're saying.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. Let's see. Is that a single problem for one user, or is everybody having that problem? Could somebody else weigh in and tell us that? Thanks for noticing that. And
Sharad is showing is muted on the. There we go.
Yeah. Well, because it sounds great to us, and usually one of the 3 of us will also hear it. So unless somebody else weighs in, Mark, I'm going to suspect it's a problem with your connection. Maybe you've got 2 windows playing the broadcast at once. So close all your other windows.
Or 3 windows. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep an eye on the Hangout page too.
Thank you.
To see if anyone else is saying that. But apologize, Mark. That's.
Seems like a couple people are saying that it's okay. So maybe let's continue on and
all right.
Monitor it.
Okay.
All right.
So
we go back to
show us where that is, Rob. Yeah.
All right. Plugin extras under File menu, and then you have import from Aperture Library. Aperture import info. What's the difference there? I've never used Aperture. I don't know.
So the only difference really is they're both using kind of the same library structure. It's just that Aperture has slightly different structure than iPhoto, and so they basically work more or less the same way. It's just we didn't want to just say import from Apple. We wanted to be a little more specific. So.
I see. And what's the difference in the 2 menu options, the import from Aperture Library and the Aperture import info?
So the info is just like an information dialog that tells you what it is. So it's not really functionality. Basically, we had to put that in there.
Cool. All right.
Give a little context.
Very good. All right. So that's where to find it, and that's brand new.
Yep. And so so that was the first thing. The second thing was for the Lightroom Mobile customers that are out there, we had introduced a new way, actually using Lightroom Web, where you could, once you've shared your collections with friends, they could leave comments or, like your photos, and you would be able to see them in Lightroom Mobile, but you wouldn't be able to see them on the desktop. So now in Lightroom 5.7, you can actually gather that feedback from like your friends, your family, your clients, in kind of this nice experience, and then have that feed directly into Lightroom Desktop. So let me share my screen, and I know that this one works for sure. So start screen share. And so if I go to my collections panel, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So if I go to my collections panel and I click on, so first thing you'll notice if I zoom in, these are the collections that I've synced with Lightroom Mobile, so I've got them available both in Lightroom Mobile and on the website, which is lightroom.adobe.com. But now when I hover over it, I can see that there's this little chat icon. That's telling me that somebody has left feedback for me. So if I click on it, this is the collection. It's from, I took a trip to Paris earlier this year, and I'm probably not the first person in the world to realize that Paris just makes, and it's an amazing place to take photos.
Right.
So I went through, and I can see that there's this little badge, and that's telling me that there's unread. There's an unread comment. So if I click on it, I get this comments panel, and I can actually see what these comments are. And so the way that I kind of use it is, if I can find the one that I'm looking for, sorry about this. So there's a photo here, and clearly my friends are telling me that it's probably a little overexposed, and so I think most people would probably agree that it's just a little bit overexposed. And so I could just, now that I've seen that comment and I realize, oh, it is too overexposed, I can just go down and, so much better, isn't it? Right?
That's really incredible.
Sorry, that was kind of a cheesy demo, but it's a good way to gather that feedback, from your friends, your family, or really, if you're shooting professionally, from clients, because they can make their selects using like a like, and they can give you comments like, hey, maybe this works better if you change the black and white mix, or I want this cropped kind of a different way. So let me flip over to a more interesting photo. And clearly people are thirsty because they're looking at champagne now. But so the way that this works is, I've shared this collection. I've got a short URL, and I can either click to open it in a browser, or I can just copy it to a clipboard, share that with my friends, over email, Twitter, Facebook, wherever I want to put it. No one else knows where this is other than the people that see that URL. And then, if you open a browser, this is kind of where it brings you. And that's, lightroom.adobe.com. And
Very
so,
cool.
Yep, so that's kind of, some of the new functionality that's in 5.7.
Cool. Well, how about we take a step back and let's just talk about what is Lightroom Mobile, big picture, what can it do, and who's it for?
Yeah, sure. So, we really looked at Lightroom Mobile as kind of an extension of the desktop. So we know that Lightroom's great at doing things like organizing your photos and editing your photos and doing things very fast. And so we noticed that a lot of people were, coincidentally, iPhones are actually really, really powerful cameras. And so what we wanted to do is we said, why are we limiting this workflow? Why don't we incorporate all of these cool things that people want to do when they're on the road, and most importantly, tie that back to kind of their hub of photography, which is Lightroom. So it's really designed to do things that you can do on the desktop, like organizing and editing. You can't do everything that you can do on the desktop, but really taking the device's characteristics into mind and giving it to you kind of in the palm of your hand. So. Especially now with the iPhone version, it's really powerful because you can set it up so every photo that you take with your iPhone automatically works its way back to your Lightroom desktop catalog.
Yeah,
awesome. I do that. That is really helpful. So it started out iPad only, and then not too long after that, iPhone support was provided. And so I'm sure you might have heard this question before. I'm just going to guess that maybe people have asked you about Android support. I don't know. You ever hear that question?
You ever hear that question?
You guys are actually the first people. Write that one down. So, No, we're absolutely working on that, and it's something that, as soon as I'm done with this hangout, I'm going to be working with the team to continue on building it. So if you do have questions about it, we are one of the challenges. One of the good things about Android is that it's so open. One of the challenges as a developer is that, again, it's so open. So if people are interested, hit me up on Twitter. My profile's in the lower third, and maybe we can talk about getting some people to test it out for us. So.
That's awesome.
Right on. Yeah.
So So you're not ignoring it. You're nothing against it. It's just one of those resource things, and it's coming along. So that's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, should we do it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Take a look at it. You mean?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by do it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to show one thing, if I may.
Yes, please.
Kind of at a basic level. So we'll see if this works. So I just recently upgraded my Mac laptop to Yosemite, just because I can now, hopefully, can you see it?
Yes.
Share my phone. So this is a pretty cool feature of Yosemite now. When your phone is hardwired via the USB to your computer, you can use QuickTime to actually show your screen. So this is Lightroom Mobile on my phone, and I have a collection at the top here that I call iPhone, and this is the one that automatically auto-imports anything that's in my camera roll. So I have it, I don't want to disable it, but so here's the option here. If I click that, it'll disable it. But so every time I get I take a new picture on my phone, it automatically comes into this collection, and then it automatically gets synced to the cloud. And because it shoots JPEGs, I actually get the full res JPEG downloaded automatically to my Lightroom catalog. So yesterday I got my issue of Photoshop User Magazine, and the column I wrote, actually they used a picture of Levi. And so I took this picture of Levi with my phone and automatically came into Lightroom Mobile, and then just got over to my Lightroom catalog on my laptop, and the picture came right in, and I was able to just kind of crop it a little bit and send it off to Facebook. So it was really cool that I could just do that very seamlessly. And sure, there's a bunch of different ways to get photos from your phone to your computer, but my happy place is Lightroom. So it was really cool just to be able to very seamlessly take it, have it automatically come in, and have it automatically show up in my Lightroom catalog right away. So I thought that was really neat feature of that.
Yeah, and similarly for me, I shoot with my Panasonic cameras, my GH4, my GX7, and they beam the picture directly over to my iPad, and so then I've got the picture in my photos on my iPad now, which are also automatically imported into that collection on my iPad. And then let me show you my screen too, because Lightroom knows the difference between my iPad and my iPhone. So here in my Lightroom Mobile collections, I've got iPad and I've got iPhone, and I could create more collections like this one for USU that I created on there, and they all show up right back in here. It is so cool.
Yeah.
And I love that I've got both iPad and iPhone automatically in there. It's slick.
So a question for you, Sharad. So if I start in Lightroom Desktop and I create a collection and I have that sync with Lightroom Mobile, what actually is happening kind of behind the scenes for people to understand?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first thing, are you guys familiar with Smart Previews at all, or should I talk about that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think give a quick description of those would be helpful.
So what we're doing, because RAW files, as you guys are probably all aware, are rather large. 25, 30 megs a piece. You get a D800, it's like what, 40, 45 megs.
40, yeah.
So especially when you're talking about lots of images and they're all really, really big, it's going to take some time for it to go up to to Lightroom Mobile. So we built this technology. We called it Smart Previews. What they are, they're lower resolution proxies. They're 2,500 pixels across the long edge, and what that allows us to do, you have all the flexibility because it's based on a file format called DNG. So it allows you to have all of the editing tools and the fidelity that you have in the develop module, but the file size is something like 2 or 3% of the original. So you can take like a 35 meg file and it's only like 1.5, 2 megs. Much easier for us to sync. So when you put a bunch of photos into a collection and hit the sync button, the first thing we're doing is we're checking to see if you have smart previews. If you don't, we're going to build the smart previews. We're going to send those up to the Creative Cloud and then back down to Lightroom Mobile. And then in Lightroom Mobile, because it's all non-destructive, it's all metadata, every time you make a change, it's basically only sending like 10K worth of data back and forth. So it's really fast. So anytime you make a change in Lightroom Mobile, you see it on the desktop and vice versa.
Yeah. So a smart preview is kind of just like a special fancy JPEG in terms of file size, but the specialness is like it's like a raw
I wouldn't
file?
necessarily call them like a JPEG. I would call them like a special type of raw file because they're non-destructive. So we're not making it's based on the DNG file format. So I would say the only way that they're like JPEG is that they're small.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I meant. I think people think raw. They think a lot of data, memory, that kind of thing. But so I didn't mean to imply they weren't.
No. I just wanted to. Sorry, I've heard that question a couple times. So sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you like that.
No, that's fine. I know. I'm trying to throw you some softballs, but I hear a lot of those questions too, and I think it's when one person asks it, that might be a one-off, but when a lot of people ask it, you figure everybody's probably pondered that thing at some point.
I use the smart previews quite a lot when I travel. So if I've got client pictures that I need to finish that are on my server here, they're sitting on my Drobo on my desk, and I'm not going to carry my big Drobo on the plane with me. So I create a smart preview of those pictures, and it takes up a few megs on the computer, but it allows me to do full editing, full finishing of those pictures. I can do the adjustment brushes. I can use the spot removal tool for pimples and stuff. It's really powerful. And then when I plug it back in, those all sync right back to
I kind of use them in the same way. Like all of my originals are all on multiple external hard drives, and when I'm traveling, like who wants to carry all these externals around with you? So I generally create a smart preview for every image just so that I have access to everything that I've taken on my laptop.
Are there any other benefits to using smart previews when your originals are still available too, or is it just kind of when they're offline that you?
The main thing is when they're offline. Some people have reported that it's actually faster in terms of if you're making adjustments in the develop module. I've seen it kind of intermittently, so I don't know if that's an actual benefit or something that people are seeing. But the main thing is when you're offline and syncing with Lightroom Mobile.
Yeah. So if I have photos that I put in a collection, I sync that with Lightroom Mobile, but smart previews haven't been rendered. Lightroom automatically does the rendering for those, but does it store those permanently, or is that just kind of a temporary render, upload to the cloud, and then they get kind of deleted on my local machine, or is that?
No. Yeah. So they're kept on the desktop machine. So you always have an option to if you're like me or like Levi and you're running out of space and you want to clear some space, you can actually remove the smart previews for a set of images. I can show you guys how to do that if you guys are interested.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Because I know some people are on maybe on an Air or some laptop with an SSD drive. Maybe they don't have a lot of space, and so smart previews are great, but maybe they're also tight.
Yeah. So here's a collection of images from Photoshop World, and so I'm just going to hit Command A or Control A on a PC. I'm selecting them all. If I go to Library Previews, I can just hit the Discard Smart Previews, and it'll go through. Lightroom will go through and remove the Smart Previews for the images that you select. So it gives you a lot of power in terms of how you want to kind of manage the file storage on your drive if you're running low, like I tend to do.
Yeah, I think it's problem of the modern age. So I got a couple questions coming in on the Q&A pod, and I'll just remind folks, if you want to be entered in for the giveaways at the end, we need you to ask a question, kind of that's your way to raise your hand. It could be a comment about how snappy Levi's hat looks, or something about Lightroom in general. We welcome those as well. But we'd love to see your questions and know that you're listening, so we can help you out. And so.
And remember this, the Q&A part, let's keep that for questions and put chat on the
event page?
Event page, not in the Q&A part, yes.
Okay, thank you, Levi. So Carl's got a question, and I think this probably is a common one for people getting with Lightroom Mobile. His question is, I have a desktop and a laptop. When I open Lightroom, I can sync one. I'm assuming one means one catalog. But if I try to sync the other, it tells me I will lose that catalog and start a new one. Am I doing it wrong, or is it possible to sync the same collections to both devices?
Yeah, so Carl, you're definitely not doing it wrong. So, it is one of the limitations is you can, it's a single catalog. And so if you have a catalog on your desktop and laptop, probably the best way to do it is you can use like an external drive to move that catalog just so that you're not creating multiple catalogs. And if you do it that way, then anything that you sync with Lightroom Mobile will sync with that catalog, and when you move it from laptop to desktop, it'll be in both places.
Yeah. So essentially you're saying have just one catalog and have that catalog live on a drive that you can physically move between computers. That way you're only syncing one catalog, you only have one catalog to back up, only one catalog that you're working out of, and that kind of thing. It really kind of simplifies the workflow instead of trying to keep two different catalogs up to date and synchronized and then also throw Lightroom Mobile in the mix.
Exactly. And in general, I tend to recommend that, for most Lightroom users, you probably would want just one catalog. So, I think there's a couple specialized use cases where you need multiple catalogs, but I think, for 95, 98, 99% even of our customers, a single catalog is probably the right way to go.
Yeah, and here's a question I get asked quite a bit. You probably do too. Is there a limit to a Lightroom catalog? How many photos and videos and things can go into a Lightroom catalog?
There's probably a theoretical limit somewhere. I would have to dig up and see what that is. Yeah. I've seen catalogs as large as 20 million images. So.
Oh, that's good to know, because I've got a client who wants to drop 500,000 into, and I'm sitting at 330 right now, but he's been wondering if he can handle 500,000 in the catalog. And
shouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
Excellent.
One of the things that I would recommend periodically, if you have a catalog of 2,000 images or a catalog of, like your friend Levi, 500,000, is just there's an option in the file menu called Optimize Catalog. Just run that every so often, because that'll just kind of make sure that your catalog stays StatMe and performant. So.
Excellent. That's a great tip. I'm gonna run that.
And it doesn't take very long. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see. Got a question from John Bailey. He says it would be helpful to see a workflow adding a set of pictures to a mobile collection, then syncing and editing on another device, soup to nuts. Thanks. How about I can kind of show that maybe a little since I have my phone, since I can get a chance to play with my phone again on my computer.
That's right. Excellent. He's just trying to play with his phone during a hangout.
I'm just trying to check text. This is just kind of a way to do that.
While Rob switches over there, another question is, as far as workflow is concerned, is it best to start with Lightroom, or should adjustments be made first in Photoshop? I think we would probably all agree that Lightroom is your launching point, that we start in Lightroom. I mean, that's where I go to make all my white balance basic adjustments. I do everything in Lightroom until I can't. And if I have to, then I go to Photoshop.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that I think about it too. Like, because Lightroom is, it's non-destructive. We're actually looking at the raw image sensor data. There's a lot you can do faster, easier, in terms of like on a global or even on a local level. And then when you run into things that you can't do, in Lightroom, say something like content-aware fill, that that power line that you need to get out, or kind of more advanced things. That's when you would jump over to Photoshop, and but that's how I kind of tend to work. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Very
and
good.
I accidentally deleted that question, Rob.
It was a good question. Don't take it personally.
It was.
All right, let me try and answer that question kind of just in a small scale, kind of creating a collection, going between devices, and doing some edits, that kind of thing. So this is just Lightroom Mobile on my iPhone, and I have just about 5 or 6 collections in here.
Hey, Rob, are you sharing? I'm
sorry,
not seeing anything.
Oh, sorry. Can you see me now?
Yes, it was my mistake.
No worries. So I was just showing my phone that has about 6 collections on it, and I'll add a new collection from my desktop. So here I am in Lightroom Desktop. Now a lot of people start with maybe using a folder-based management style, and maybe aren't used to using collections, but you have to use a collection to sync it with Lightroom Mobile. When you're signed in and you enable sync with Lightroom Mobile, up here this little drop-down arrow under the identity plate, then you'll see these little kind of squares next to a collection that, unfortunately, it has to be a regular collection, not a smart collection. But you have these little boxes that you can check, and you can synchronize one of these collections with Lightroom Mobile. But I'll just go ahead and create a brand new collection. So there's a couple ways you can create a collection. One of them is just clicking this plus sign here and create collection. You can also, which is a cool thing I think I picked up from Julianne Cost, who's kind of my Lightroom crush. I can't reveal that publicly, but I guess I just did. Anything Julianne teaches is just amazing, and she's so funny. But one of the things I learned from Julianne is that you can actually just click on a folder and drag it into the collections panel, and it will create a collection out of that folder that you just dragged in there. And I don't know where I dropped it to. So I thought that was kind of a neat trick. So I'll see if I can do this and actually watch where it goes. So there, I just dragged this folder. Has just 4 photos in it of me that my friend Nicole Young took when we were in Tetons. And Levi was probably somewhere around here too. So now that I have this collection that was a folder, so a collection is just referencing these photos. It's not, I didn't move the photos anywhere. I just said, hey, Lightroom, just kind of reference these photos in this collection. And now I can enable sync by just clicking on this box. And now I'm syncing these 4 photos. They're JPEGs. I'm kind of hoping that this will be quicker. So even though my phone is connected to my computer here, it still has to kind of go up into the cloud and then come down onto my device. So I'll switch over to my phone, and hey, and there it is. So that collection already appeared, and if I open it up, so far only 1 photo is in there. Here come the rest. And so I've got these 4 photos, and now that they're inside of Lightroom Mobile, I'm just going to rotate my phone here a little bit. Now I have various tools for, I can change my flag state here. I can switch over and do star ratings as well. I could crop it. This is kind of a finished photo, so I don't really need to crop it, but let's say maybe I needed to go square and go like that. Along the bottom here is where I have access to other controls, so now I can actually get in and start using either presets, maybe to apply different effects, bring out detail, that kind of thing.
Sharad, can we add presets to this?
You can't, no. Okay. Is that something that you guys would want to do?
Yeah, like if I could take my user presets and have those available there, that would be cool.
Yeah, I think I've definitely heard that request from folks as well. Just even if there was just like the few that they use the most, kind of thing as a start would be great. I can also then get into actually accessing some of the tools inside the develop module, from white balance on down to exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, clarity, vibrance, so on. I can even reset. So some other cool things. inside of Lightroom Mobile, the two-finger tap is kind of like the magic key, almost like using the Alt key inside of Lightroom. It kind of opens up some other things. So let's say I wanted to adjust my blacks. I can just kind of tap and drag on the black slider, make things darker. If I do a two-finger, it's kind of like holding down the Alt key inside of Lightroom desktop, and I can kind of see this preview as I'm making that adjustment. So that's kind of cool.
Do that again, Rob?
So it's a two-finger
okay.
on the slider.
Awesome.
All right. And that's kind of neat.
Things are clipped. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Let me go back to just. I'm gonna do an effect just so that it's really a visible one, and come out of here and go back. So there's a photo. I made some adjustments to it. I cropped it and converted it to black and white. And so if I go back over to my Lightroom catalog, there's that adjustment. Just came in pretty quickly. And now if I take this photo to develop, it's taking longer for it to go to develop than it took for it to come down from my phone. I can all those edits were non-destructive, so I can.
You could recrop.
I can recrop. Yeah, I could bring it back to color. So all those tools are right there and available for me. If I come back into this collection.
Actually, Rob, if you could go back and just click on the history panel for that image. I think that's.
Oh, great idea.
That it shows that it is completely non-destructive, and you could actually toggle over the edits that are happening in Lightroom Mobile. So.
Yeah, and I could save that as a snapshot, and if I needed to make some changes and stuff. So yeah, that's really awesome. And then I was just going to show, if I come back to my collection, I can also share that using Lightroom Web, and so there it's creating this URL that I can share. If I just right-click on that, I can open that in my browser. I can copy it to my clipboard. And then if I just open it up in my browser, then there's those same photos, and I can look at one, and maybe I can make a comment. And post that comment, and then if I go back to my catalog, once that comes in, that comment will sync and appear right inside back in my desktop. So it's a really incredibly fluid process here, where I can take photos from my desktop, put them in this collection. They go to my device. I can edit them while I'm traveling. They come back into my desktop. I can share that gallery via Lightroom Web, and so on. So it's this new feature where I can actually get comments and likes or back and forth is really cool. And then you get this special icon that appears when there's a comment. So you can click it and see it, and you can see down here this other collection has a comment as well. So that was kind of a quick and dirty run through. But hopefully, John, that answered your question. If you have any follow-up questions, let us hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of questions here. How much space is being used by the Smart Preview on the iPad? Jared, do you know? Is it the full amount of a Smart Preview?
It is. So it's about, on average, probably like 2 to 2.5 megabytes per image. So.
Okay, so Michael Lewis Glover is asking about can he sync the image to Dropbox or Google Drive instead, because his iPad is always full. I think one of the solutions here would be to rotate your pictures. You can stop synchronizing a catalog on your iPad and dump it away so that it's not taking up space anymore.
Well, Lightroom Mobile manages that space, right? It's not like permanently filling your iPad and then you can't do anything else with it. It's kind of a little bit more fluid than that, I think. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah. So the way it works, that's exactly right. So we're looking at how much space you have on the drive and kind of managing that space for you with respect to your images. So let me see if I can share my phone. Since you just shared your phone, give me 1 second. And I can show you an option that might solve the problem for you, Michael. Actually, I don't think I'm sharing. Give me 1 second.
quick question. Will syncing smart collections be supported in the future?
So I can't talk about things that we haven't shipped yet, but we've certainly heard that feedback. So wish I could say more on that. But,
thanks.
How's that for a non-answer?
That's good. That's a good non-answer.
That's the answer we expected.
So you guys can see my phone, hopefully.
Yes.
So with that same Paris collection that I was just talking about, right now, if you make the leap of faith and assume that that I've got tons of space on here, cool. But as I start running low on space, Lightroom will it'll keep very, very low res previews on there until you actually need them, and then we'll load the smart preview back from the server. But if there's a collection like this Paris collection that I always want to have on here, all I need to do is, actually let me turn on presentation mode so you can see where I'm tapping. All I need to do is just tap on this the three dots, and I can enable offline editing. So you guys can see that I've got 4.5 gigs left, and I hit download. What that does is by you going through this process, you're telling Lightroom that I don't want those photos to be deleted from my drive. So no matter how full my phone or my iPad is, those are really important to me. And I always want to have them. I don't necessarily want to be connected to the internet to access those photos.
That's very cool. Yeah.
And the other cool thing is like if you're getting on a plane, I know that some flights have Wi-Fi, but it's like dial-up speeds basically. What you can do is before you get on the plane, when you're on your cell or on your Wi-Fi, you enable offline editing for the photos that you want to actually edit on the flight. Then you don't have to be online. You can just do it offline, and then when you connect back to a network, we'll sync the changes. So
that's excellent. That's a terrific idea. Thank you for stopping sharing your screen so Rob would quit playing.
I didn't mean to come.
We should probably pause too just to say, hey, thanks to our sponsors, Songfreedom and Adobe and onOne and Drobo. Thank you for sponsoring this hangout so we can get this information out to folks that are interested in hearing it.
That's right. And one more call for entries if you'd like to be entered in the raffle to get a year's subscription to the photographer's bundle of
Creative Cloud.
Yes, and we've got 2 licenses for onOne's Perfect Photo Suite 9 to give away as well. So if you'd like to be entered in those, please weigh in the questions. You can just say hi if you'd like to, but I'm taking names and drawing tickets. So.
All right, so we hit some more questions that are coming in here.
Yeah, looks good.
Down the bottom here, is there a trial version of Lightroom Mobile, or is it necessary to have a full subscription?
So you don't need to have a full subscription. You can download and use it. You do need to log in with your Adobe ID, and then you get a 30-day trial. So you can test it out. You can kind of kick the tires, and hopefully in those 30 days you're like, wow, this is awesome, and then continue using it.
Yeah, so that would be someone who had a perpetual license for Lightroom 5, and they want to just try out the mobile before they maybe went the whole Creative Cloud suite route. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
For folks, yeah.
Yeah. Or the other way is, maybe they're not even using Lightroom Desktop, and they're like, oh, this looks really cool. Let me try it out. We'd love for you to kick the tires. And
cool.
Also, we didn't mention, but this Lightroom Mobile only works with Lightroom 5.
Lightroom 5, right? I think it was 5.4 and later. So
if you're still using Lightroom 4, this is a great reason to upgrade to Lightroom 5, or get the photography bundle from Creative Cloud. That's what I use. I think it's absolutely worth $10 a month.
Yeah, $9.99, can't beat it.
Yeah. And then a quick side question to that, Sharad.
Yep.
I suppose that when Android comes out, one of these things that you can't talk about.
Well, I'd already talked about Android, so
right. So
I guess I tipped my hand there. So,
but I suspect that you try to keep the same layout and format for both devices. Is that true? I mean, so the things that we've shown today will be in the same place on the iPhone versus an Android phone. Is that right?
To the extent where we can, we're going to try and do that. There's, you know, there's just different quirks between what Google and Apple have built into their operating systems. So the hope and the expectation is that it's going to be pretty similar. It might not be exactly the same, and if we did it exactly the same, I think everyone would get mad because, you know, Apple people are like, wait, this looks too much like Android, and then the Android people are like, wait, this looks too much like iOS. So we're going to try and manage as many of those fights, because some of those people, you know, some of those fights are like religious wars. So there's just no winning. So we're going to try and have the similar experience, but looking at the platform and leveraging the platform whenever possible.
Excellent.
I think there's a couple maybe quick questions we can go through. Matt is asking, he's not sure if it's been asked, but does Lightroom Mobile support keywording of photos? And will it support the full keywording hierarchy inside of Lightroom Desktop?
So keywords are actually not supported right now. I mean, we're just not syncing that information to Lightroom Mobile. Potentially in the future, both of those are great suggestions. You know, don't necessarily have a time frame on if we'll do it or when we'll do it, but great feedback.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Here's another one from Matt, since we're on Matt right now. He's asking if there's any way to get full-size photos in Lightroom Mobile for checking critical focus, that kind of thing. Is there any way to get like the full-size D800, 36 megapixel raw file?
There isn't. You know, first of all, I'm honored that, you know, you're using Lightroom during your quote-unquote boring meetings. So hopefully we're not calling you out too much, and like your boss isn't watching this at the same time. Although hopefully he's interested in Lightroom, but there isn't right now. That is a great suggestion. It's something that we've definitely heard. So we'll definitely take that into account.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Brian Essler is asking, can you use multiple libraries? And I guess he means by that catalogs. When people say library, I generally translate in my brain to catalog. Can you use multiple libraries with Lightroom Mobile, or are you limited to one library / catalog?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of touched on it a little earlier. Yeah, so it is, you know, one catalog, and you know, I think one of the kind of the follow-up questions that I would have, maybe not in this format, but if I was talking to you one-on-one, Brian, would be like, you know, why are you using multiple catalogs, and maybe we can work together to get you into one catalog so that all your photos are accessible.
Man, you know, Sharad has the best answers to, like, respectful answers of telling us that, you know, basically you're using this wrong. You should use it this way. But yeah, no, you say these things really well, Sharad. I appreciate
he's been doing this for a while
now. This is good. This is good. I'm learning a lot just from the way you talk.
Yeah, no, if you go to Photoshop World or any other places, I'm sure, Sharad, you probably speak at lots of other conferences, and you get a chance to hear him speak. It's definitely one you shouldn't miss. He's got a lot of, he's got a great style. Nobody knows it better, or at least there are people who know it as well. But you know, he's going to be able to answer any question you can throw out there. So, kind of just a follow up to what we've been talking about. Can I use Lightroom Mobile? Joshua Adams is asking, can I use Lightroom Mobile on 2 phones or 2 iPads, or a phone and an iPad, both syncing collections from Lightroom Desktop, syncing photos to Lightroom, and these? So can you use multiple devices, I guess, with Lightroom Mobile?
Yeah, and I demonstrated that earlier, that I had both my iPhone and my iPad in there. So
as long as you're logged in with the same account, user ID, you know, in all devices, then you're just looking at that same catalog information, and you'll see those same collections on all devices, and so on. So yeah,
one catalog, multiple devices.
Yeah.
Yep.
But unfortunately, not multiple laptop desktops yet. So it's by devices. We're talking at this point iPhones, iPads. Hopefully in the future, Android devices.
Well, and we talked about keeping your catalog on a drive so that you're still just using one catalog. I screwed up my photography life really badly trying to use the same catalog on multiple computers, or no, you say the same pictures in multiple catalogs on multiple. It was a mess. Yeah.
Not good.
You've never seen that before, Rob, have you?
No.
At the help desk now.
Yeah, no, that's brand new. Talking about just kind of a Lightroom question here from Carl. He's curious about catalog optimization. I know you can bake changes into a file, deleting the history. As I understand it, if I do this, I can't go back other than to reset. Is this how Optimize works? Dropping the history states? So I think we can drop some good info on Carl here for this.
Yeah, so Optimize isn't dropping history states at all. So like you don't, that's not a concern. Well, I guess it is a concern because you're asking about it, but it shouldn't be a concern, I should say. What we're actually just looking at the catalog, and we're just looking at places where there's data that's not necessarily being used by you. Maybe we've added data somewhere. Maybe there's things that we can clean up and just make it a smaller package, a little more tidy. And I kind of think of it, at least mentally, like a vacuum. Like, when you're vacuuming your living room, as I look at my living room that needs to be vacuumed, we're not, like, I wouldn't vacuum up my couch. Like, I would go around it, and I kind of think of your data as like your couch. Wow, this is like the worst analogy ever. Watch me juggle as I do this.
I like that.
So like we would go around anything that you think, any of your data, like your couch, your table, your TV, whatever, and kind of vacuum up the less important things like the dust and the dirt, and it's more tidy. Okay, I'm done with this analogy.
No, it's really good. I like it.
If your couch has data, what is the coins that fall into the cushions of your data?
That's the gold, right?
Yeah. Those are the little things, like when you adjust white balance a little bit, and suddenly your picture just looks a million times better. That's the gold. Yeah. Also related to that, he said you can bake changes into a file, deleting the history. But when I press save, when I just hit Control or Command S and save and write to my DNG file, I'm not losing my history, right?
So you're not actually. So when you hit the save button, so if you're using like a proprietary RAW file, like a Canon CR2, for example, we're not actually writing to the CR2 file. Whenever you hit save, actually we don't actually have a save button. Whenever you hit Command or Control S, we're going to write what's called an XMP file. It's a sidecar. It sits right next to the original file, and so we don't actually delete the history. The way that you would delete the history is that if you actually click in the history state and hit clear history, that's kind of the way that you would delete history. That being said, I'm not sure why you would want to delete history, because it's not, from a data standpoint or performance standpoint, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. So I would say it's not a good idea to do that.
I get this question in some form often, and one of the people ask or have some misunderstanding about is when Lightroom writes to the catalog all the time. So that's where all your data is saved all the time, and that's the go-to place for Lightroom to find out any information about your photos. Other people also like to enable the option to have Lightroom write to the XMP metadata of their photos as kind of a belt and suspenders approach, so they have that data in both places, and that's fine. But I think not everybody understands or knows that not every single bit of data that's in the Lightroom catalog can be written to that XMP metadata space. Most of it, 99.9% of it, can be, but one of the things that can't be are all the individual history steps. You get the final slider, placements, that gets written to XMP, but all those other movements you've done along the way can't be, right? Virtual copies, if you use virtual copies inside of Lightroom, that can't be written to XMP metadata, but snapshots can. So you can create snapshots that represent your virtual copy settings, and that can be written. So that's one way to go around that. Flag states can't be written to XMP metadata. So if you don't use flags, that's not a problem. But if you depend on that, just note that can't be. Star ratings can, color labels can. So there's other ways to work with that. And then collection membership. So if you use smart collections exclusively, only smart collections, smart collection being like a saved search based on criteria, that's kind of not about what your photos are in that. That's just what matches that smart collection criteria they come up. But regular collections, like I made before, that type of collection membership can't be written to XMP. So my kind of long way of saying this, I just like to throw it in as often as I can, is protect your catalog too. So even if you feel like you've got this belt and suspenders approach for your important data, that's great, but still protect your catalog too, because it has stuff that isn't anyplace else but in your catalog. Did I get that right, Sharad? Is there anything else I missed on that?
No, I think you actually did a better job than I could explaining that. That was a pretty. I think you know, just like a +1 to that is you know, just make sure that not just your catalog, but I would say your whole system. Like hard drives are pretty cheap and getting cheaper. Buy like a big beefy hard drive, or like a, you know, like Levi was talking about, a Drobo system or something like that. You know, and archive your stuff. Make sure you're creating backups. You know, Apple and Microsoft both have utilities built into the OS. Use them, because it's really important to keep backups. And that's not just for photos or for Lightroom. I would just say in general, keep good backups.
Yeah. Excellent. We got a couple more questions. We'll save Brian's question for last, but there's an aperture question. When moving from aperture, do the photos move or copy from the aperture package, or does Lightroom just reference the originals and leave them where they are? This might be more than you can answer in 2 minutes, but
it's really up to you. So they're the aperture plugin, and you know, we try to make some assumptions based on how we think people are going to use, how people are using aperture, and how we think they would want to use Lightroom. But in this case, you know, there's just so many different ways that your system could be set up, David. We've provided some options in there. Like, you could leave them referenced if you want. We could copy them to a new location. But those are, you know, kind of the two options that you can choose. So I'd recommend, you know, giving it a shot, and then if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer offline.
All right, awesome. So we're getting near the end of our hour. If you want to be entered into the drawing for either onOne's Perfect Photo Suite 9 or the Creative Cloud Photography subscription package, throw a question in the Q&A pod, or throw one on the event page, or throw a comment on the event page so we can get your name on there. I'm just kind of scanning through the event page to see if there's any questions that we didn't get. Carl threw his in there. Let's see. Oh, Carl, so here's a question.
Carl Green. Okay, good.
Yeah, Carl. I think Carl we got his, because he put that in the Q&A pod. But yes. Tom Hobbs asked, if I have an iPad, 16 gigabyte iPad, if I sync a collection, is it automatically sending the data, or can I decide when to do that? I guess he's talking about controlling when the data is being synced or not. I think that's probably what he's asking. I'm going to say Lightroom will only, my understanding, and maybe Sharad correct me, is Lightroom only syncs the data if Lightroom is open, and I don't know if it's doing it in the background in Lightroom Mobile or not, but maybe you can say more to that, because I'm guessing.
It's a good question. It's a little complex, so I'm going to try and answer without as many caveats as I normally would. So there's a couple things. One is, you know, Lightroom, and you're actually connected to the internet. So, you know, if you're on the plane, like I was talking earlier, and there's no internet connection, obviously it's not going to sync. The other thing is that there's a preference that you can set. You know, if you click on the Lightroom icon, it opens up some preferences. And so over cellular and Wi-Fi, or do you only want to sync over Wi-Fi? So you can choose, like, you know, if you have a limited data plan that you only want to sync over Wi-Fi, you know, you can flip it, thinking in that way. And when Lightroom Mobile's minutes, where we can do some syncing in the background, but then, you know, that's kind of limited by, it's like between 5 and 10 minutes, and then it kind of goes to save battery life.
Yeah. I don't know if it was for everyone, but you were breaking up a little bit on that last one, Sharad. So I was just going to share my screen real quick, and just so I can use my phone one more time.
Yeah, perfect.
I'll show you where that. Are you seeing it now, Levi?
Yes.
Am I up there?
You are
so
on. Real quick, I've got there's a lot of people in the hangout who have not left a question to be entered in the drawing. So last final chance to weigh in and say hello on the Q&A portion up there at the top.
So there's this sync only over Wi-Fi, which Sharad was talking about. So when that's turned on, sync will only happen when my phone is on a Wi-Fi network. Otherwise, it will sync all the time. So if you want to protect your data plan being chewed up, you can turn that on so that it only happens during Wi-Fi. If you were wondering how I'm getting those little red dots to show up, that's this presentation mode.
Yeah.
There.
Cool.
And then down the bottom, it shows you kind of if you're worried about disk usage down there. Oops, you don't need to see that. So that's that, and that's just under this little Lightroom icon up here in the top. All right. So the very last question I see here, Levi, can we have Levi take off his hat? It's always on.
Brian has seen me with my hat off when we eat meals. I generally take my hat off all the time, except when I'm doing these things and in trade shows, because people come after me. They're like, "I didn't recognize you without your hat on." Oh, that's all right.
Once you have something like that, you're married to it forever.
That's the thing.
There is another question. No, there's two more on the event page. Levi, I think maybe we can call it. If you want to start doing the random poll, I'll try and maybe Sharad and I can handle these questions. So from Philip, Photoshop seems to handle spot removal better, more tools, and just plain works better. Is any effort being made to bring the same level of spot removal into Lightroom? So maybe Sharad, you can answer that. But before you do, let me ask, what version is Photoshop up to now? Is it 20? 21, something like that? 18, 14,
Photoshop
15?
I think it's on 15.
Yeah,
15.2, I think.
All right. And what's Lightroom? 5?
So Lightroom's on 5.7. So.
Yeah, okay. So there's a little bit of difference there. Okay. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, to your second question, which is, probably in time we will. Release, but in Photoshop, kind of the main technology, or one of the technologies that they use, is something that we call content-aware fill, and like content-aware patch and content-aware heal. There's kind of a whole lot of content-aware goodness that's in Photoshop. It makes a lot of sense to go into Lightroom at some point. I don't have a time frame for when it will happen. So.
All right, excellent. And then last question, and we'll call it a day here. Dwayne is asking, does Lightroom Mobile for the iPad and iPhone have the same capabilities? In the App Store, I see Adobe Lightroom for iPhone. I assume this is the same as Lightroom Mobile. So I'm going to say yes. It
is, yeah. So they're both on version 1.2.2, and they're functionally exactly the same.
Yeah, and what's cool about Lightroom Mobile is that because it's part of the subscription plan, is you guys can roll out new features, updates all the time. You're not kind of constrained to the same time frame as the perpetual version of Lightroom. Is that true?
Yep, that's absolutely true, and we're continually making progress, and I think we've already released, so we definitely plan on continuing that and going forward.
Awesome.
So if you guys don't be shy, hit me up on Twitter.
All right. Well, I think you kind of keep fading out a little bit. I don't know if it's just. That's just the time it comes to. For Tom, this Hangout will be available later on, and this is the magic of Google Hangouts, is that it's being archived automatically as it's happening, and should be available for you to review within minutes.
Yeah, you can click
done.
over to the photo focus page and click on the link for this. Click on the article for this Hangout, and you will see it in the article right there on Photo Focus.
All right, so thanks to our sponsors, Adobe and Drobo, onOne, and Songfreedom. And Levi, do you have our winners? You have to be here. This is the moment you've been waiting for, really. You have to be here.
Number one is the Adobe one-year subscription for the Photographer's Bundle of Creative Cloud, and that goes to Joshua Adams.
Josh, are you still here?
Yeah,
Josh, you can tell us you're here by posting in the Q&A pod and let us know that you're here in any way. You could do the game show run if you want to, but we just need to know that you're here. And while we're waiting for
somebody else.
Yeah.
And so while we do that, then we've got 2 licenses for onOne's new software bundle, and those are going to Dan Welchel and Philip Wostradowski. So please weigh in with a question, guys, or in the Q&A spot, and tell us that you are still online, and then send me an email, and we will get you.
Can you say all those names again too?
Yes. Sure. So Joshua Adams, Dan Welchel, and Philip Wostradowski.
All right. So if those guys don't raise their hand here soon, we're gonna have to pick some new winners. So hopefully they will appear while they do. So while we're waiting to see if they show up. Yes.
Say that again.
Hey guys, I gotta. Sorry,
okay.
I know I'm cutting out a little bit,
yeah.
but I just gotta say I gotta take off. So I just wanted to say thanks for having me on, and really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Really, really, really been awesome. Thanks for tuning in with us today, Sharad. Take good care.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. All right. Dan is here. Josh is here.
Josh is here. Waiting for Philip Wostradowski. But that's my Bob Barker voice.
All right. Why don't you start picking the alternate name?
All right. I'm going to dial it in.
Josh, you're in.
Philip Wostradowski, your last chance on The Price is Right.
Come on, Phil.
5 seconds. 5, 4.
All right, go ahead and say the other name. That will make him.
All right, if he doesn't answer in 10 seconds, it's going to Michael Lewis Glover.
Michael, are you here?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Michael.
2, 1. I heard you, Josh. We got you. Josh is actually I've shot with Josh before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Josh, Dan. He's even glad you even said his name correctly. That's awesome.
Yes, no problem. Thanks, Dan. Okay, and Michael Lewis Glover, I don't hear from you either.
Oh, geez, we have to go to alternate. We've never had to go to a double alternate before.
Oh man. All right, here we go. Although, did Michael win last month? Let's see.
I don't remember.
How about Matthias Peterhouse? Matthias Peterhouse, are you in the house?
I'm sure he's never heard that one before. Any one of you 3 people.
Anyone else? We're going into the after.
Carl's hanging on. Carl, you'll be the last person here. Your odds only get better as time goes on.
That's right.
Oh wait, yes, Phil. He just posted in the on the event page. Yes, Philip Wostradowski is here.
It's all right with me if we default back to Philip.
Yes, since we didn't hear from anybody else. Good job.
Right, so send me an email, guys, at Levi@PhotoFocus, and we will get you set up with Adobe and onOne. Thank you very much. So the winners one more time were Dan Welchel, Josh Adams, and Philip Wostradowski.
Excellent.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Rob, where can we catch you? Where can we see what's going on?
Photoshop
User Magazine.
Yeah, Photoshop User Magazine. Hey, if you're a Kelby One NAP Photoshop user member person, I do all the Lightroom help desk for them. So you can get me any time of the day just about via email. But head over to photofocus.com, and there's a bunch of posts on Lightroom there from both of us. So there you go.
Yes.
And Levi, where can we find you?
You know, photofocus.com is fun. Actually, I've dived into Instagram recently. In fact, while we're talking, I just got a notice that my article about Instagram and Lightroom Mobile just went live.
Hey,
so,
cool.
So check that out on the blog today, and join me on Instagram. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Next month, we haven't set the date yet, but we're working on that, and we're going to try and line some up a little further in advance so we can actually announce those dates. We're working on that.
That's right. And I'm glad that Michael Lewis Glover and Matthias Peterhouse both just weighed in, but we're going to go ahead and give it to Philip since he redeemed himself in the end.
He got in there a little sooner, but I don't know. Maybe we can figure out something we can do for those guys too. So
we'll put them in the raffle next month.
Yeah, we could do that. You can tune in.
Join us, guys. Yeah, let's dig around and see if we have any extras. Thanks, guys. We will catch you later.
All right. Take good care.